A new year has arrived. What's your resolution for 2024? How about making sure the roof over your head is well taken care of? Riverland Roofing is here for all your roofing needs. Whether it's an inspection, a new roof, or a maintenance program, Riverland Roofing has you covered home or business to give you peace of mind in the new year. As a GAF Master Elite contractor, they can offer warranties that last a lifetime. Riverland Roofing is licensed and insured to service Mississippi and its surrounding states. So give Riverland Roofing a call today and make sure you and yours are protected all year round. Call Riverland Roofing at 662-644-4297. That's 662-644-4297. Visit them online at riverlandroofing.com, riverlandroofing.com. It's Riverland Roofing for all of your roofing needs, a proud sponsor of the Talk of Champions podcast network. Welcome in to an all-new edition of Hashtag Not Committed. I'm Ben Garrett at Spirit Ben on Twitter. He's Zach Berry at Zach_Berry on Twitter. And we both write for the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, an affiliate of On3. And if you sign up today at the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, an affiliate of On3, you can get a sub for the low price of $1. It doesn't get any cheaper. I guess it does. It could be free. It's not free, but only $1. $1 to come read and talk about Ole Miss sports all day, every day, specifically football recruiting, basketball recruiting, and some baseball. As you can tell, I am in my new studio, but also still after the car wreck, not even close to having the painted walls and the drapes and everything I'm going to need. But we're here today to talk about the Rebels, and that's the most important thing. Hey, Zach, how are you?
Good morning. It's good to see you.
Yep.
Shiner's looking better.
Yes.
You're looking fit. Svelte.
No.
Cheekbones are looking rather sharp, Ben. Looking good.
Working on it. The problem is that I love Bunch of Crunch. So, like, anytime I make some progress, I go to Walmart and I bought all my stuff. And then I look.
Takes me back.
I'm saying. And then I look at the candy section, which is the most, brutal.
The what section?
The candy section in Walmart.
I thought you said mechanic section.
No, the candy section. Like in New Albany, when you walk in, the first thing you're faced with on the food side is the candy section because, apparently, yeah. And they do the little like movie boxes of candy, and the best movie candy to ever exist. I'm not talking about candy in general. I'm talking about movie candy. Bunch of Crunch. Nothing hits.
Never been a big candy guy at the movies. I just go popcorn.
Yeah, and I don't like popcorn. But outside of that, trying to do the diet finally started tomorrow in 2024. Unfortunately, a Buick driven up my asshole kind of, stalled me for a second. We're good. We just got to get the walls painted in the office, but that doesn't matter. We're here to talk about Ole Miss, and Ole Miss football over the weekend hosted a huge recruiting weekend, a junior day specifically, with a number of top targets in town. And before we do anything else, I wanted to touch on that. We have full coverage at the Ole Miss Spirit. You can hear from McKeelan Deere. Golly, give me some names, Zach. There were a lot of kids in town. You're talking about 200-something kids.
Yeah, there was at least 50 blue chip prospects. Just the high points. You and I talked with Malik Autry, Janoris Hopson, Chicago Mills Knight, Tyler Lockhart, Kevin Otis, Micah Jones. You mentioned Deere, Carius Kern. We've got Jack Lang, Tyler Miller, Corey Amos, who committed to Ole Miss on Saturday. A lot of recruiting. Dylan Alfred, I should say, excuse me. Former Gaucher wide receiver, now at Saraland in Alabama. He returned home. Had a lot of good things to say about George McDonald, the new wide receivers coach. So you can read all of those interviews at omspirit.com. Take the time. I know everybody likes to do the quick hitters in the recruiting thread to get the, I understand the TL ;DR, but there's some good quotes in there, especially with the new staffers. And guys getting a chance to get in, see the new Manning Center, meet with their position coaches, but mostly just the buzz and the momentum that's around the Ole Miss football program is pretty palpable right now. And you can tell with the cachet of names that were in Oxford over the weekend.
Of all the names of guys that were here, what's the biggest takeaway for, as far as development, right? Of course, Corey Amos, the four-star linebacker committing, the first commitment for 2025, that's the biggest development. But anything else out there draw from the weekend that we learned
Yeah.
that really grabbed your attention like that?
I mean, Janoris Hopson committing on Monday. I think that's pretty important. His younger brother is Jarcoby Hopson, four-star linebacker from Lake Cormorant. I think Ole Miss is in the lead there, has been in the lead for some time. Jarcoby's a quiet guy. He doesn't do a lot of talking. He's a pretty reserved dude. Um, he's a good quote when you get him going, but he's a quiet kid. But I like Ole Miss's chances there. Pete Golding has made him feel like a priority from day one as soon as he was hired. He still wants to make a decision before his senior season. So we'll see when that happens. But yeah, getting his older brother, who is a good prospect in his own right. I don't think this is a package deal type thing for Ole Miss. Hopson was a productive dude, led Northwest Mississippi Community College in receiving last year after playing a year at Mississippi State. But yeah, good pickup for Ole Miss there. Just another slot guy. Like, hey, seen what Kiffin can do with those shifty inside wide receivers over the years with Dayton Wade, Jacour Pearson, and Elijah Moore. So two good commitments over the weekend. Four-star Corey Amos, linebacker. I mean, just pretty simple. Said it felt like home. He liked what Pete Golding and Brian Brown and everybody on the defensive staff were saying. Hit it off with Lane Kiffin, just went ahead and pulled the trigger. So that's in our business, Ben, that's what we like to call a home run, as it is. There's no drama. Hey, liked what I saw. Let's
Yep.
do it. I'm going to commit. So
Make it
that's
real
good.
simple. Make it real
He's
simple.
gonna. I talked with some Ole Miss people over the weekend on Saturday, kind of in the wee hours of the night after Ole Miss Auburn wrapped up in basketball. A lot of the players went to that game, which can't hurt when you go to an atmosphere like that. It was electric. But he's going to play edge for Ole Miss. Big kid, probably close to 6'2", 6'3.5", somewhere around there, north of 200 pounds. Can play the edge. He's long, good wingspan. So I expect him to probably play kind of that Kari Coleman, TJ Dudley type outside linebacker edge position. So a good get. And in Louisiana, I know people are going to say, well, just wait till LSU turns up the heat. Sure. But I mean, you got to take the commitments when you can get them, especially when it's a really talented four-star prospect like Corey Amos.
You'd rather have them than not. I'd rather
Yeah.
try to hold on to them than chase them with the in-state school as the prohibitive.
More times than not, it's easier to hold on to them than flip them.
Yeah.
Outside of that, probably the other main development over the weekend, and forgive me, dear family, I'm trying to pinpoint how to correctly say the first name. I believe it's Akeelan. I don't know for sure. I'm trying to figure that out.
I'm saying a
Um,
Keelan because I want to say that I was told that, and there's a reason why I have it in my brain. It's a Keelan deer, but I'm not going to pretend like I'm the expert on that. Maybe we're supposed to be the experts. We're supposed to be. I mean, when people go, "Hey, what's the name of so and so?" We're supposed to be the ones that say,
yeah,
you know,
I could ask him. I talked to him the last couple days. Never asked him.
See, I always
But
feel in any social situation, it's not just in recruiting. Even when it's a text message from a foreign number for you that says, "Hey, man, how you doing?" Right? I just immediately fall into, "Oh, I'm doing great. How are you?" When really, if I was just honest, I'd say, "Hey, who are you?" Right? Or if we were honest with the Keelan deer, "Hey, Keelan, how do you pronounce your first name correctly?" But I don't know. I'm a big social wimp, I guess, when it comes to asking people the basics. Like, hey, Akeelan, how do you pronounce your first name correctly so that we don't screw it up for a year as we cover in recruiting? The most important thing here is that
Okay. Here's the
Akeelan,
easy thing. I just got word from a staffer. They just call him AK.
AK, let's go. All right,
AK Deer. All right.
AK, I think Ole Miss leads for him.
I do too. I put in a pick yesterday for him. Um,
It's too early for picks, Zach.
eh,
It's too early.
Till you get him right. But yeah,
You could just put in
Kiffin
like after the decision is made, you could put in a prediction.
you
Like
could always do that.
I've seen some people do
Um,
it. I'm not naming names, but I've seen some
who
people. They
who can
want like
say?
all three RPM numbers to be to me amongst the best. So they're gaming the system. Sorry.
Uh, Kiffin's made it very clear. Said, "Hey, you're our guy. You're our number one target for the position." Um, and they went to see him last week at his school. But yeah, I think Kevin Smith's relationship, Enrique Davis, those two continue to chip away at him making a decision sometime soon. I know he told us that he was wanting to narrow his scope down. Because I think last year, late summer, pretty much said it. He had a top three of Alabama, Florida, and Ole Miss. Obviously, now with Nick Saban moving on, some things have changed there. But I like where Ole Miss is at. I think that um, I don't know if a commitment is imminent. Um, if you were to tell me that Ole Miss probably told him like, hey, you know, maybe during the dead period, maybe you go ahead and declare so Ole Miss can get some momentum, get some pub during the dead period. I wouldn't be shocked, but yeah, I like where Ole Miss is. I think the run game um, is enticing for top prospects to play at Ole Miss. They run the football. They're dedicated to running the football. Kiffin has always been like that at every stop. So, all the score from far stuff is fun for social media and graphics purposes. But Ole Miss is a run first, physical downhill mentality offense first and foremost. So I think Deere recognizes that, and yeah, the visit was great. Checked all the boxes. He loved it. So yeah, I don't know if it's anytime soon, but I like where Ole Miss is at, and I went ahead and put a pick in for the Rebels to land AK Deer at some point.
I like Ole Miss's chances for him in the long run, but I said my guy, I think the last time we talked recruiting for 2025, every single recruiting cycle, we pick a dude, our dude in that class. For me in the past, it's been Jaheim Otis, who is still, as of this recording, an Alabama Crimson Tide, and I'm not hearing anything. I really thought that Jaheim was going to make it back home once Nick Saban retired, but I haven't heard it. Hadn't heard it since. But Trey Amos is here to step in at cornerback. But again, um, we've always picked guys for each and every class. And this one was Caleb Cunningham, and that was easy because he's a five-star wide receiver. He's a stud wherever he goes. But Jarcoby Hopson from Lake Cormorant, in terms of want, in terms of priority, in terms of where he's on the board, you could argue that there's nobody ahead of him, especially when it comes to Pete Golding, who absolutely loves this kid. And what I really want to touch on with him is not whether Ole Miss is a favorite for him. They are. They'll be in it to the very end. And I think ultimately they're going to land him. Getting Kam Franklin, his teammate from Lake Cormorant, in the boat was a big deal. Now, it's not going to be a deciding deal, but it's still a big deal. Anyway, with Jarcoby Hopson, all right, what position does he play? Because I've heard he's Tony Connor. I've heard he's Suntarine Perkins. I've heard a number of different comps for him. But from your vantage point and knowing that Ole Miss is a favorite for him, if they are able to close the deal, what kind of player, what are they getting in a Jarcoby Hopson?
That's probably you probably nailed it. I think he's going to play that close to the line of scrimmage safety linebacker spot. Super versatile guy. He's a lot bigger, in my opinion, just from the eye test. I think he's bigger than 205. He's listed at 6'1.5", 205, and on three. I think he's gotten a little bigger. We'll see him. I imagine I will see him in Atlanta at the Under Armour next camp in a couple weeks. I joked with him last year when I saw him. The first go around at the Under Armour camp, he was a DB. Then he was a linebacker. So I joked that this year he'll be a defensive lineman because he just keeps getting bigger. But yeah, I imagine he's going to play an outside linebacker, kind of that same, like you mentioned, Tony Connor, Perkins. Um, and I don't think he'll grow as big as like a Marquise Haynes. I think they'd like to keep him around 210, 215. I don't think he'll get to that bigger range that Marquise Haynes eventually got to. Um, but yeah, I think the outside linebacker spot is perfect for him. He kind of does everything for Lake Cormorant.
To not interrupt you too much, but the comp that I liked the most that I heard from somebody that actually knows this stuff, not me, Alan Walker.
Yeah.
I loved that comp. I was like, that makes a lot of sense because Alan coming out of Olive Branch,
Oh,
he was
A-Walk, baby.
one of those kind of not tweeners, but it, there's not he could go any number of directions in college. He could have gone safety,
Yeah.
he could go on linebacker. He turned out to be an all league caliber linebacker.
Shout out to the Olive Branch Hurricanes.
Heck yeah, position.
Me and Alan go way back.
There you go. Position
Um,
versatility is
no, it's
something.
funny. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Allen because yeah, I mean he was basically this prospect in high school. Um, was all but set to sign with Florida, and then Ole Miss came in last minute, swooped in and landed him. But then by the time Allen got to college, I remember, he was at the athletic dorm on campus. I was across the way at Brown. It was at Deaton. And we'd see each other all the time. We'd go to the Union. We'd hang out because we grew up playing baseball against each other our whole
What was the
lives. And
thumbs up? Hold on. What was that? What was the thumbs up that was floating in the air? Did you see
oh, it's
that?
probably because I probably did something, and it
Oh,
just Zoom automatically does it. But
anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
so
He's a,
I remember when I would talk with Alan like freshman, sophomore year, and I was asking how football was going, and he was like, "Yeah, man, it's great." He was like, "I think they want me to bulk up a little bit, get a little bigger, and move a little bit on the inside and play more linebacker."
Mhm.
So by the time he left Ole Miss, I mean, he was probably 230, 235. Like he had gotten considerably bigger to where he was in high school, where he was like that rangy, roaming linebacker safety that was, at that it's still today, but at that time was something you really needed in college football with the expansion of spread offenses and people using, the full width of the field. That's a good comp though coming out of high school because he was a dude at Olive Branch. I mean, he played on some really good football teams at Olive Branch that just had to unfortunately be in the same era of South Panola,
Yeah,
just
that's
not
what's
losing ever. So they could never get out of North Half. But yeah, that's probably as good a comp as any right there.
well, good. Then I'm going to be honest. I told myself after the wreck that could have gone. I got a brain bleed, I had a concussion, had a little internal bleeding, but to be honest, I've been fine. The wife and the kids have been most worried overdoing it. But one thing I told myself, a resolution I made, like every year I say diet starts tomorrow. It's new me in 2024, 2023, whatever. This is something I've decided I'm gonna be intentional about. Being more honest. All right, I lied. I came up with the Alan Walker comp, man.
Okay, all right,
I came up
all
with it
right.
because I
That's
didn't want
good.
to feel stupid, but I
If
wanted to
so,
throw it out there. I
if I had
wanted
have
to,
said if I had have said that's a stupid comp, Ben,
yeah, I'd have blamed it on
you'd been like, yeah, what an idiot that guy was.
yeah, that faceless, made up scout, but no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to dip my toes into dishonesty. I came up with an Alan Walker comp for
No, that's
Jarcoby.
good. That's
So,
good. Yeah, yeah. No,
for
I
you.
mean that he was kind of ahead of his time. The and then now those guys are at a premium. Those
Mhm.
edge safety guys that can cover in space and can
They're
run
coming
down a
off the edge
quarterback.
now. Like that, a guy like that build is coming off the edge now situationally. What you're talking about is Micah Parsons. Like Micah
Yeah,
Parsons,
Michael Parsons is a little bigger.
well, he's an edge. I know, but I'm just talking about like early on in his high school career. I wonder what size he was. You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah, let me
I bet you he was
look it up.
safety slash flying around linebacker or something like that, and he gets big enough to be it. Point is this: it's the athletic profile that
Sure.
Alan Walker ahead of his time, and fits what we're talking about with Jarcoby Hopson. It's this positionless athletic freak that if you need to turn him into a safety and defend tight ends, he can do that. If you need him to be a every down linebacker in the middle that just goes sideline to sideline, he can be that. Or if you want to bulk him up even more and make him more of a long term developmental project, there's things you can do with him. And these are the type of players that in 2023-24, all college programs want more than anybody else. Give me the positionless athletic freak that is the best player on his team because athletic traits, not necessarily, oh, well, he was a born and bred, raised to be, linebacker, no, just give me the guy that has all the athletic tools. And when you're looking at this class, this 2025 class, very few of the targets on Ole Miss's board that they have a realistic shot of landing are as athletically gifted as Jarcoby Hopson. And that's where the optimism for me. And why we're spending so much time talking about him, because Kam Franklin, what Kam Franklin is. He's stepping in. He's going to either be a edge rusher or he's going to be a defensive tackle, right? One of the, like, he could be a three tackle, but it's one of the two. Jarcoby Hopson, the ceiling is limitless. And I remember I went and covered him before the season started because I was going to talk to Kam Franklin right when Kam was making his decision between Ole Miss and, well, it wasn't just between Ole Miss and Auburn. It was Ole Miss, Auburn, Tennessee, Miami. And while we were there, me and David Johnson from Inside the Rebels at 247, we talked to Jarcoby and a number of others. And I'll be honest with you, watching the game itself, because Kam didn't play that much, Jarcoby was on the field the whole time. You can't take your eyes off of him. Like, it reminded me a lot. It's exactly how I felt standing on the sideline of South Panola and putting my eyes on Tony Connor for the first time. I went, oh, yeah, he's better than everybody else. Like there's just a difference in caliber.
Similar kind of career arc too, because Tony Connor played everything at South Panola, and that's what Hopson does. He plays running back. He'll get in the Wildcat. He'll play some safety. He'll play some linebacker.
And I bring up Michael Parsons because think about it this way: like George Kittle coming out of high school, he wanted to go to Iowa so bad, but like he weighed 210 pounds. He was essentially a wide receiver who couldn't block, and then he turned himself into a tight end. I'm not saying Michael Parsons was that, but we don't even know what Jarcoby Hopson is yet, right? Like we don't even know but he's like the lottery ticket for me of 2025 as far as Ole Miss targets. That's the one. I've changed my mind. Caleb Cunningham, absolute stud, inarguably one of the best wide receivers coming out of high school in Mississippi history. Having said that, Jarcoby Hopson, the athletic traits just make you just that's the kind of player that you would love to fill out your entire roster with, because then it just allows you so much roster creativity and positional creativity. So,
I think looking at kind of what he does well, he fits the scheme and kind of what Pete Golding wants. Because I do think Ole Miss is going to go more, I don't want to say traditional linebacker recruiting because the game is always evolving, but I think they're going to want to kind of draw a line where, all right, these are our interior guys, these are our outside guys. Because I do think there were times this year when, now he's a true freshman, and look, it's really hard to play defense as a true freshman in the SEC. But yeah, there were some times when Perkins was, treading, he was treading water. And then there were times when he was just trying to keep his head above water against SEC offensive linemen. So I do think they're, and look.
And also, since we're talking about it, and I don't want it to slip, because some might not know this, but the Grove Collective has re-signed Sonny P, Aiden Williams. Any concern about, oh, we didn't see much of him last year, the portal is never ending. No, Sonny P and Aiden Williams, announced yesterday by the Grove Collective, have re-upped with the Grove Collective. Not that there was any concern necessarily, but it's always nice to get some reassurance.
Yeah, that's just the landscape of college football these days. But I do think there's going to be a shift there with the influx of talent from the portal. Walter Nolan's going to help out a lot with that. Prince Umamione's going to help out a lot with that. Jared Ivey coming back. JJ Pegues, Xavier Harris. I do think the beef that's been added up front for Ole Miss is going to help those linebackers out a ton. But yeah, Hopson is someone that I think Ole Miss is in a really good spot for. And then, landing his brother on Monday just only helps Ole Miss's case.
The College Corner is headed to Oxford. Stop by their new location in the Oxford Commons off Sisk Avenue. They'll have 4,000 square feet of Rebel gear ready for your trip to the Grove. On your next trip to Oxford, stop by the College Corner or our other great locations in Ridgeland and Flowood. Hats, shirts, polos, pullovers, sweats, t-shirts. College Corner has it all. And as always, you can visit us online at collegecornerstore.com. That's collegecornerstore.com. The College Corner, where your game day apparel meets.
Are you looking at cutting your health insurance premiums by as much as 20 to 30%? Are you aging into Medicare and need help finding a Medicare supplement plan? Call Drew Moak of USA Benefits Group at 601-953-8449. Drew is an Ole Miss grad located in Mississippi and licensed in 7 states. He works with the nation's second largest health insurance brokerage with access to 35 different carriers, and he can help you with any of your health insurance needs. From regular health plans to life insurance to dental and vision and even Medicare, he has it all covered. Now more than ever, it is critical to have a health insurance agent who is local and accessible. So call Drew Moak at 601-953-8449 and get your free quote today.
Hi, this is Kevin Kessinger, former Ole Miss baseball player, son of Ole Miss Hall of Famer Don Kessinger, and dad to Ole Miss All-American shortstop Gray Kessinger, and your local community banker with B&A Bank. B&A Bank has invested 125 years in our communities, and we know the needs of North Mississippi businesses better than anyone. As a commercial lender with B&A Bank, my priority is Oxford, and I'd love to help you and your business with any lending needs.
Visit www.bnabank.com to learn more. B&A Bank, local, invested, modern banking. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
This is hashtag not committed. I'm Ben Garrett at Spirit Pin on Twitter. He's Zach Berry at Zach_Berry. We both write for the Ole Miss Spirit, ownspirit.com, and affiliate of On 30. If you haven't already, subscribe, rate, review, Talk of Champions, the network that we're on, in iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. Just simply search Talk of Champions, subscribe, rate, review, 5-star review. Doesn't matter what you say, as long as it's 5 stars. Before we jump to break, you were talking about the Hopson brothers. The next part of that is Jarnoris Hopson, the Northwest Mississippi Community College wide receiver. He committed to Ole Miss on Monday. He visited Oxford over the weekend. What do we make of this other than the Jarcoby connection, right? On his own, Jarnoris, what does he bring to Ole Miss, and what is Ole Miss getting, and what could he be potentially at the next level?
I think this is just kind of like I said earlier in the show, just another guy in the long line of athletic slot receivers that Lane Kiffin has done so well with and since he got to Ole Miss. Really good with Elijah Moore, obviously, was a blue chip guy, really talented. But then Shakur Pearson, Dayton Wade, Jordan Watkins, a little bit bigger, but Braylon Sanders had a really good stint in the slot when he was at Ole Miss. Parlayed that into making a couple NFL rosters. But yeah, Hopson, look, I know people's immediate reaction is, oh yeah, his brother is Jarcoby. No, this is a guy that really good football player. Was in the Mississippi Alabama All-Star game as a senior. He had 30 receptions, 479 yards, and 4 touchdowns at Horn Lake. He also ran for over 400 and had 10 more on the ground, 1,550 all-purpose yards as a senior. Played 1 year at Mississippi State, then opted to transfer to Northwest to kind of restart, kind of recalibrate his college career and kind of figure out what he wanted to do. And last season, Northwest 7-3 on the year. He was the leading receiver, 35 catches, 443 yards, 4 touchdowns. I think this is a prospect you can bring in that's a little bit older, a little bit more mature, has played in college, kind of knows the rub there with how to, run routes against a college defense and practice for a college program. I think that's important. We talk a lot about fit and culture and all of that with the locker room and getting guys that are experienced. And I think George McDonald, the new wide receivers coach for Ole Miss, and the rest of the offensive staff liked what they saw, what they heard from Jarnoris. And I think this is going to be a guy that can come in and compete in the slot. He will arrive in the summer and will have 3 years of eligibility left. So certainly someone who will factor into that wide receiver rotation in 2024 and beyond. So yeah, this is more than just his brother's a really good linebacker. He's a good player.
Speaking of George McDonald, he's hit the ground running. He's doing a heck of a job already. So is Joe Cox. I mean, all of these new hires for Lane Kiffin, there hasn't been any drop off, any got to get
Brian Brown too.
Yeah, Brown. Oh, of course. Big Brown was going to hit the ground running. But when you look at what's coming up for Ole Miss, speaking of recruiting, they had 17 transfer portal players. Talking about what's coming up in the spring here, they had 17 transfer portal players. The number 20 ranked class they signed over the winter, 31 mid-year enrollees. And I thought it'd be fun before we, rounded out our first show of the week here on Tuesday, February 6, 2024, to note the players that are in town on campus enrolled and pick a number of different, I'm going to have some different categories. I'll throw some different stuff at you and you just give me a player, okay? So first and foremost, the D1 transfers, Trey Amos, cornerback, Yan Banks, Julius Buelo, Logan Diggs, Nate Kelpo, Key Lawrence, on and on and on. Your number one defensive transfers, who? Yours. It can be your pick. It doesn't have to be Walter Nolan necessarily.
I'm going to say Trey Amos.
Okay. Uh-huh.
I heard enough when I talked with Travis Rayer from Bam Online, and just the rubber stamp from Nick Saban. That's enough for me. Scouts love him. He was going to start for Alabama. He was going to be probably the number one corner for Alabama. I think he will start for Ole Miss and will be a true lockdown corner that will help replace DeAndre Prince, Samari Walton. I don't want to say Ole Miss fans will forget those guys because that's not the case. But yeah, he's going to help bridge from 23 to 24 in the secondary. So I think he's a dude that's going to play a lot of football. And yeah.
See, you get the spirit of what I'm going for here. Because it would be easy to say Walter Nolan, Princely Umon Mielen. I'm going for Zach's, who you think is the most important of those transfers. For me, not necessarily the most important, but the one I'm most curious to watch in the spring, Amorion Walker, the cornerback from Michigan, because of the athletic traits, an absolute athletic freak. So, those two are on campus here.
When his pro day happens, I'll be in town because I want to see it.
Yeah,
because he's a viral sensation.
Key Lawrence, Lewis Moore, Walter Nolan, Chris Paul, Diego Pounds, Devin Price, Jerquan Scott, Brandon Turnage, Princely Umon Mielen, Amorion Walker, Antoine Wells, Juice Wells from South Carolina, and Daquan Wright, the tight end from Virginia Tech. Those are all the transfers. All right, now I'm going to give you the 12 December signees. And remember, there's a chance that not all 12 of these are on the roster come August. Because Braxton Myers, this time last year, was one of the early enrollees, and he's now Purdue Boilermaker. So, understanding that.
Which he left Purdue.
Did he?
Yeah, I don't know where he's at now.
Oh, we got to find that out, man. I hate that for him.
Let me effort in real time.
4-star prospect coming out of high school. Anyway, all right, here are the 12 December.
Oh, he's in Southern Miss.
No. Really?
Yeah.
I was in Hattiesburg a couple of weeks ago. I'd never been on campus at Southern Miss. And I was like, I was born and raised in Mississippi. I've been around Ole Miss sports my entire life. I've never been to Southern Miss, but I was pleasantly I love Southern Miss. I had a delightful time. So hopefully Braxton has found his home. All right. I saw my daughter sing in this state choir thing, and it was lovely. And Southern Miss could not have been a better host. I wouldn't prefer that to Ole Miss. But
go to Braxton, if you're listening, go to Homestyle, get you some red beans.
Yes. Yeah.
Can't go wrong. It's on Industrial Drive. Can't beat it.
That really cool brewery downtown.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a great McAllister's.
Give me a little bit more credit. Just a little bit.
McAllister's is great.
My dad started McAllister's.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. It started. The first one started in Oxford, Mississippi. Then Mark Garrett and John Fullenwater, God rest his soul. They're the first franchisees of McAllister's Deli. So all the ones in Memphis, those are big marks. The one in Knoxville, when Tennessee knocked off Florida back in 1998. Some amazing iconic game. I can't remember what it was.
Feels like 98.
Yeah. That night, because they're the McAllisters there. My dad put it like right on campus at Tennessee. And buddy, when I say they made bank that night, they walked the field goal post off the stadium in Neyland and right into McAllister's Deli.
So,
Good old takes.
so, so
McAllister's
did
is
your
fine, is what I'm saying. I'm bringing all up to say it's not knocking McAllister's here. All right.
yeah.
I thought you were trying to say to your friend that I'm just not cultured enough to,
No.
enjoy a good brewery.
So did your family have a hand in the one in Germantown?
Yeah, that's my dad's.
Okay, that's where like everybody in high school worked.
Yeah. Germantown, South Haven.
I didn't work there, but
Mhm.
and I for
That's the first
Fridays
job
that
I
was
ever had was in Germantown, McAllister, sweeping floors with from my mom and dad.
Friday's pregame meal. I'd go there, get a French dip and a sweet tea.
Yep. See, that's the difference. Me, I would go to Jimbo's, downtown New Albany, but Jimbo's don't exist no more. Jimbo smoked when he made your stuff too, so you get a little like ash in your chicken tenders.
Yeah, there
It's
you
still
go.
delicious as shit, man. Like I miss Jimbo every day. All right,
And you know it's
12
good.
December signings: Traveris Banks, Cedric Beavers, Cam Clark, Raymond Collins, Jude Foster, Kam Franklin, Dylan Hip, Andy Jaffe, AJ Maddox. We've been through all these names before. Give me the one guy that like that. We could say Kam Franklin. We could say Jeffrey Rush. Darrell White was a 4-star coming out of high school. But for you, who is your number one of these December signees that's not going to Braxton Myers Ole Miss and is going to impact winning in 2024? Give me one. Impact winning. Sonny P, you could argue impacted winning. I didn't see enough Aiden Williams
I'm going to go
this time last year.
with
Same things.
I'm gonna go William Eccles.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think
Not a mid-year enrollee. You're missing my point here.
okay, hold on.
I'm gonna go.
Let me pull it up.
Obvious one.
Run me through the mid-year enrollees again.
Javarius Banks. That's my sleeper right there. Cedric Beavers. Cam Clark, Raymond Collins, Jude Foster, Kam Franklin, Dylan Hip, Andy Jaffe, AJ Maddox, the quarterback, Anthony Robinson, Jeffrey Rush, Narelle White, walk-ons Paris Evans, a defensive end, and Wiley Riley also.
Okay. I'm gonna go Anthony Robinson.
Ooh. Okay. Explain.
Another versatile safety, physical guy, played a lot of football for a really good program at Destrehan. Winner, won some state championships. He was one of the first names on Pete Golding's list when he was hired. They prioritized him and got the commitment early, held on to him. Yeah, I just think just kind of one of those ball players. Just it's cliche, but yeah, dude just makes plays around the football all the time. And yeah, played at a high level in Louisiana and solid 6 foot, 190, 195 pound. I think probably a lot of special teams as a true freshman, but he's going to be someone that will make an impact for sure. I think he will also certainly push other guys in the secondary because of the high level that he plays at. But yeah, I'll go with Anthony Robinson.
Here's the problem. Who's the last 3-star when's the last time you saw a Mike Hilton type of prospect come in and immediately start, immediately play? Doesn't matter the recruiting pedigree. He's just surprised. Like Peyton Chatagnier did it for baseball. Basketball. Who's the last one for football? Quinshon? I mean, he's the only one, high school wise. 5 years under Lane.
I don't know.
It's hard to pick a high schooler to come in and impact winning if Aiden and Sonny P didn't really do it all that much last year. Because if I look at this list, I mean, Kam Franklin's the obvious one, but I put my eyes on him. We're talking about Jarcoby Hopson earlier. I mean, I watched him play. He played a little high. He needs to add weight. I've put my eyes on him, stood next to him multiple times now. And he, he's a great kid. And I have no doubt he's going to be really good one day because just the head on his shoulders, for Christ's sake. But it's more than that. Like, he's going to take some time to develop because we don't know what he is positionally. He has some stuff he's got to get better. So, impacting winning in 2024, Kam Franklin. Maybe now with Tyler Barron not here, BJ Green didn't choose Ole Miss instead is going to Colorado. Yeah, okay, maybe he is a true edge because that's where Pete Golding likes him. Because that's one thing I was talking to his high school coaches, his teammates, just doing the full Kam Franklin kind of, breakdown. And one thing they made sure to notice, they said, like, Pete, above all else, he plays a little higher. Maybe you're missing where he is positionally. We don't know where he's going to play. This, that, and the other. Pete Golding absolutely adores this kid and thinks he's an edge. And I'm just going to defer to Pete Golding. So if Pete Golding thinks he's the stud defensive end, then maybe he's the one that breaks through. But outside of him, I mean,
I got one for you.
Okay.
Trey Washington, I think, fits in that. Played in all 13 games as a freshman, 20-something tackles, and now starter impact guy. So, yeah, not as big of an impact as Quinchon because those don't come around very often. But
a 4-year starter. He's been a 4-year starter. Like, I actually wrote him off. I said he's going to be leaving after the Peach Bowl, and a story was because, I mean, honestly, eligibility stuff these days, if you don't make a mistake, I tip my hat to you because I don't know how. It just confuses the shit out of me. And I thought he was graduating after the Peach Bowl. I thought he was out of eligibility. Come to find out, Trey Washington's coming back too. And I thought, wow, for a secondary who really needed some, just some continuity and just solid production, some like solid, what you got. Well, Trey Washington is that. I mean, in an era now where you feel like players come and go, and there's not like this attachment to Ole Miss that you probably grew up with, right? If you're watching this, you're listening to idiots talk about Ole Miss recruiting on your Tuesday, then chances are this shit really means a lot to you. And I'm glad it does. It means a lot to us as well. But like, we used to all think that the players were in on it with us, right? Well, the new age, I'm not knocking it at all. You're seeing it with Dartmouth. I mean, you're unionizing, get your money, all that stuff. But as college football, justifiably so, changes and evolves into the amateur pro league that it always was, a little bit of soul is going to be lost because it's not like we're going to be rooting for our guys out there constantly. You know what I mean? But one of them in this era, when all that lost, as you're losing what used to be a different kind of soul with college football, there are some that are kind of like the last vestiges of that in Trey Washington's.
Yeah.
So that's a great point. Trey Washington. So in that way, Anthony Robinson makes a ton of sense. I love that pick. Then I will go with Charvarius Banks. He's a 4-star. They need some help in the secondary. He's going to play safety, but they got numbers at safety. I don't know. I'll go with Charvarius Banks just because I don't want to go with Kam Franklin. That's the obvious pick. This has been an all-new edition of #NotCommitted. Before we get out of here, Zach, I give you the floor. Anything else that we might not have touched on that Ben, because he's an idiot, missed?
Well, probably the main thing we need to touch on is if you're getting ready, college baseball, if you're getting ready, Swayze Field, it's around the corner. Ole Miss is starting a new year in, I guess, a couple weeks as we are February 6th. But, yeah, if you need to get you some merch or, if you need to go to the pavilion to watch the Ole Miss basketball team, it did you to march on to March, Ben, as the Rebels look to continue to improve their NCAA tournament resume. You can go to College Corner, Oxford, Flowood, Jackson. You go check them out. Ridgeland, 500 Highway 51 in Ridgeland, Laurel Park Cove in Flowood, and in Oxford, Sisk Avenue, Suite 105. Go check them out. Got everything you need from polos, T-shirts. They got Realtree. They've got tailgating supplies. They got gifts if you need to get a birthday, whatever, Peach Bowl gear, all of that. And if you can't go in person, check them out, collegecornerstore.com. Scott and the good folks over there power the show, power the network, and we appreciate them. And you should appreciate them by going and checking them out, either collegecornerstore.com or at any of their 3 locations.
And riverlandroofing.com, Riverland Roofing for all of your roofing needs. Our thanks to B&A Bank. Our thanks to Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Oxford. Our thanks to OMAF, the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation. Right now, I mean, y'all got to get ready. Next week, baseball, it's opening up. They're opening in Hawaii. So if you haven't got your season tickets, the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation, those are the people you need to talk to. And next Wednesday, correct, is the second signing day, and we're not really expecting much, right? Isn't next Wednesday?
It's this week, tomorrow.
Tomorrow. I thought it was next Wednesday. Okay, so then we definitely don't think Ole Miss is doing anything, right?
Pretty sure it's tomorrow.
Isn't that
this is how much it matters because neither of us know because Ole Miss is not doing anything.
They're not doing anything. Okay, that's what I wanted to cover, and that's crazy because the old days. I mean, the biggest day of my off season with this job used to be the first Wednesday in February, and now here comes the first Wednesday in February. Yeah, and nothing's happening. But Ole Miss has already well positioned itself to make a true run, a legitimate, genuine run at the college football playoff, the expanded college football playoff in 2024. Baseball wise, Xavier Rivas is gone. He's out for the year. He got hurt last week during inter-squad scrimmages. Was probably a shoe-in, I would think, for the weekend rotation. Probably was going to be the Friday night starter with Hunter Elliott unavailable all year. He got hurt in inter-squads, Tommy John surgery. It's Groundhog's Day again. So Xavier Rivas is not a part of it. Ole Miss is counting on JT Quinn, Grayson Saunier, a number of signees that they brought in. They like, especially from the transfer portal. Kyle Carmack from Arkansas State, Liam Doyle, who didn't have a great fall, but from Coastal Carolina. They do have some options, but it's a blow before the pitch has even been thrown in a very important 2024 season because, Zach, you and I have talked about this before. Ole Miss wins a national title in 2022. Finally does the thing that everyone said it should have done by now. And all they really had to do last year was just be in the postseason, be in a regional somewhere, be a 2 or a 3 somewhere. You don't even have to host. And they won 6 SEC games. So that's not the best way to get the rebounding season started. However, I love this team. I love the depth of the lineup, the transfers that they've added. And Mike Clement talked about it on the Rebel Hotline on this hitting coach. He'll be back on next week, talking about getting Mike Bianco on finally, some players and stuff. So baseball season's ramping up. And of course, recruiting in basketball with Chris Beard and the push for the NCAA tournament. They have number 15 South Carolina tonight on this Tuesday, February 6th. That's another opportunity. Auburn wasn't pretty, but maybe they can get a big postseason resume building win against South Carolina at South Carolina Tuesday night. We'll see. We'll have it all covered, though, at the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, an affiliate of On3. We write and talk about Ole Miss sports, your favorite Ole Miss sports, all day, every day at the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, affiliate of On3. And if you sign up today, you can get a sub for $1. So come hang out with us, man. We'd love to hear from you and talk about your Rebels. Thank you, buddy. We'll do it again.
See you, man.